I know how this is going to sound. Half of you already have the comment typed out. Mandy's just selfish. She's just like her mom. Next video. Give me 4 minutes before you send it. Because here's the thing. Nobody's actually looking at closely enough. Mandy McAllister never ruins her life when it's already falling apart. She ruins it the second it starts working. New credit card in Georgie's hand, pride all over his face. That's the exact moment she lets slip $12,000 in secret debt. Real career momentum, her first big break. That's the exact moment she forgets to mention her new boss used to be her boyfriend. Watch the pattern once and you can't unsee it. Good news walks in the door, and something reflexive walks in right behind it to make sure the good news doesn't get to stay comfortable for long. Even the makeup gift fans nicknamed the guilt boots only shows up after she's caught, never once as an apology offered on her own terms. I used to read that as selfish too. Honestly, for a while I thought the easy answer was the right one. She's just Audrey with better shoes. But here's what stopped me. Actually sit with this for a second. If Mandy were really just a copy of her mother, she'd be comfortable with conflict the way Audrey is. Audrey doesn't flinch from a fight, she starts them. Mandy is terrified of one. She doesn't confront, she conceals. And a person who hides instead of fights isn't wearing the same personality in a different outfit. That's a completely different animal underneath. The second I actually looked at it that way, everything about Mandy stopped looking like villainy and started looking a lot more human. And honestly, a lot sadder. Welcome back to Sheldon's Attic. Today we're climbing into the McAllister side of the attic, because I think Mandy might be the most misread character in this entire universe. And by the end of this, I promise you'll see why. Here's the idea we're working with, and you've probably heard the plain English version even if you never learned the clinical name. Attachment style. Specifically, earned insecure attachment. What happens when someone grows up without a reliable, safe base, and their nervous system quietly learns one lesson for life? Closeness is where the danger lives, not distance. Closeness. And nothing proves that lesson faster than watching what Mandy does the moment things start going right. Let's start with the $12,000. Episode 3 of the spin-off. Georgie gets his first credit card, feeling proud, feeling like a real provider. And that pride is exactly what cracks the door open on Mandy's secret. $12,000 in credit card debt. Discover, MasterCard, Visa, Amex, the full set. And a chunk of it traces straight back to her ex-boyfriend's ER bill from a broken wrist. Now here's what's easy to miss if you're only watching for the blow-up. This debt isn't new. She's been carrying it silently through the entire beginning of their relationship. Through the pregnancy, through the wedding, through moving in together. She had 100 chances to bring it up on her own terms, when it wouldn't detonate anything. She never took a single one. That's not carelessness. That's someone whose instinct, the moment something starts to feel like real partnership, is to keep one piece of the truth locked in a drawer nobody else has a key to. When Georgie actually finds out, yeah, her first move is defensive. She gets prickly, she deflects. I mean, that tracks. That's exactly what a nervous system braced for punishment does the second it gets caught. But here's the part that gets flattened if you're only hunting for reasons to dislike her. They don't stay stuck there. They actually sit down and agree to fix it together. Georgie picks up the tow truck job. Mandy goes back to waitressing. And they do it as a team. Now flip it for a second. Imagine Georgie was the one who'd spent years quietly funneling money to an ex behind Mandy's back, only fessing up once he got caught. We'd have a word for that instinct, and it wouldn't be quirky. Mandy gets the softer read because she's the one who eventually sits down at the table. She hides the wound. But when someone actually stays after finding it, she doesn't run. That's not what a manipulator does. That's what someone does when they don't fully believe yet that staying is something people actually choose. And look at where the debt came from in the first place, because that detail does a lot of work. It's not shopping money. It's not vanity. She quietly paid an ex-boyfriend's emergency room bill for years. A guy the show describes as someone with a drinking problem, someone who clearly wasn't good for her. Paying down a bad relationship's debt in total silence, while building a brand new one on top of it without saying a word, that's not financial recklessness. That's someone still finishing the bill for the last time she lets someone in. Now let's go back further, because the debt isn't where this pattern starts. It starts at the laundromat. You know this one. Mandy meets 17-year-old Georgie, and within one conversation, they're both lying about their age. She says 25, he says 21. Mandy actually comes clean about her real age that same night. Georgie doesn't. He keeps the lie running for a long stretch afterward, right up until they've already slept together, and only then tells her the truth. She's furious. She throws him out. Flip that one too, actually. Try it. Picture Mandy as the one who kept a lie running for weeks after they'd already slept together, only confessing once there was no way left to hide it. We'd have a very ugly word for that instinct, and Georgie wouldn't be getting a redemption arc for it. He gets the pass because he's framed as the earnest, naive one. He doesn't actually earn that pass. The show just prefers to keep the story simple. Here's the detail I think gets skipped completely. Mandy told the truth first, unprompted, the very same day. The instinct to come clean was already there in her. It's Georgie's lie that turned the whole relationship's foundation rotten before it had even properly started. That single day, the ground turning out to be fake underneath her feet, is the environment Mandy's attachment to Georgie was born in. Honestly, I didn't think much of that detail until I got to episode 2 of the spin-off, years later in the timeline, and watched it echo back. Georgie, months after his father's sudden death, gets into a heated fight with Mandy and ends up in the emergency room convinced he's having a heart attack. It's a panic attack. Pure accumulated stress. A dead father, a young marriage, a baby, in-laws, money. And what I want you to notice isn't just what happens to Georgie. It's what that scene reveals about the marriage itself. Conflict in this house doesn't stay small. It goes straight to the body, straight to crisis for both of them. That's what earned insecure attachment actually looks like day to day. Not constant chaos, a baseline hum of this could collapse at any second, even during ordinary disagreements. Because for both Georgie and Mandy, in different ways, closeness has already once meant the floor giving out underneath them. Third piece of the pattern, and this one's almost a caricature of the whole thing once you know what you're looking for. Mandy gets a new job. Real career momentum, finally. And it turns out her boss is Scott, her ex. She doesn't mention this to Georgie, not because anything's actually happening between them. Even the show's own writers have said that isn't the point. The point is that Mandy's instinct, the second she has something good going for her professionally, is still to keep one door quietly unlisted on the map she hands her husband. When Georgie finds out, she doesn't explain herself first. She buys him an expensive pair of boots. Fans actually nicknamed this the guilt boots. And it's a perfect little artifact of the whole pattern. Buy your way past the moment, instead of sitting inside the discomfort of just being honest. Here's the part that made me genuinely suspicious of how deliberate the writing is. almost every one of these blow-ups lands in the episode right after something has gone unusually well for her. That's not coincidence dressed up as sitcom pacing. That's a writer's room quietly tracking her wins and scheduling a detonation right on time. And around the same stretch of episodes, there's a real external threat to the family. Jim considering selling the tire shop to Fred Fagenbacher, who happens to be Audrey's old high school boyfriend. It's sometimes framed online as the family selling Georgie out completely. That's not quite right. What actually happens is messier. Real tension, real fear that Georgie gets treated like an outsider with no vote in his own family's future. And it's Georgie and his coworker who end up holding on to the shop themselves. Mandy, through most of it, doesn't plant her feet firmly on her husband's side the way he needs her to. She hesitates. She tries to keep the peace with her own parents instead of drawing a clear line. That hesitation is the tell. It's not coldness. It's someone who has never fully trusted that picking her own household over her family of origin is actually a safe move to make. Here's the thing about someone running this attachment pattern. Loyalty doesn't disappear. It just gets divided in a way that never fully lands anywhere. Mandy isn't choosing her parents over Georgie because she loves him less. She's choosing them because they're the one relationship in her life that's never actually gone anywhere, however messy. And some part of her still isn't convinced Georgie is going to be that permanent yet. So she hedges, quietly, constantly, in a dozen small decisions that don't look like betrayal individually, but add up to a husband who never quite feels like he's standing on solid ground. And here's where the pattern's origin becomes impossible to miss. Cece, Mandy and Georgie's daughter, ends up secretly baptized twice. Once Baptist, arranged by Mary, once Catholic, arranged by Audrey. Neither grandmother asks the parents first. Both of them just quietly go around them. Sit with that for a second. Mandy didn't invent secrecy as a relationship strategy. She was raised inside it. Audrey overriding her own daughter's authority over her own child isn't a one-time lapse. It's a live demonstration of exactly the model Mandy grew up watching. Don't ask permission. Manage the outcome quietly. Apologize later if you get caught, or don't apologize at all. You don't learn to trust openness in a house where the people who are supposed to be your secure base keep proving that going around you instead of through you is just how things get done. So here's where I actually land on Mandy, and it's genuinely not where I expected to land when I started pulling this apart. She's not turning into her mother. That reading is tidy, it's satisfying, and I don't think it's what's actually happening. Audrey is comfortable with control. Mandy is not comfortable with anything. She's braced. Every secret she keeps isn't a power move. It's a rehearsal for an abandonment she's convinced is always one honest conversation away. That's the cruelty of earned insecure attachment. And it's worth sitting with. The exact behaviors meant to protect the relationship, hiding the debt so he won't leave, hiding Scott so he won't get jealous, staying quiet instead of picking a side so nobody gets hurt. Those are the same behaviors that end up threatening the relationship anyway. She's not sabotaging Georgie. She's running the only defense system she's ever had, aimed at a threat that, this time, might not even be real. And that's what actually separates her from Audrey. Audrey's behavior is confident. It doesn't apologize for itself, doesn't hide, just steamrolls forward. Because Audrey has never once doubted her own right to control the room. Mandy's version of the same behavior is soaked in guilt before, during, and after. The secrecy, the overcorrecting gifts, the flinch every time she's caught. That flinch is the whole tell. You don't flinch like that over a trait you inherited comfortably. You flinch like that when some part of you already knows the behavior is wrong and does it anyway. Because the alternative, actually trusting someone with the truth, still feels more dangerous than getting caught. Try this for a second. Actually try it. Think of one moment where Mandy gets caught in a lie and her first instinct is relief. Go on. Struggling? Yeah, because there isn't one. Every single time, it's panic first, explanation second, if at all. Honestly, that reminds me of a friend I had growing up who'd disappear completely the second a friendship got too good. Stop replying, pick a fight over nothing, just to see if you'd chase her down. Took me years to figure out that wasn't rejection. That was a test nobody told me I was taking. Mandy isn't the villain of this story, and she isn't secretly her mother either. She's someone who has never once been shown that good things are allowed to just stay good. So some part of her keeps quietly preparing for the moment they won't. And if you want the flip side of this, the person Mandy actually married into, and why Mary Cooper's own relationship to control makes her the exact wrong person to teach Mandy that stability is safe, go watch our video on Mary next. Two very different women, running two very different survival systems, now raising a granddaughter inside both of them at once. If you're into this kind of dig, the real psychology sitting quietly underneath a laugh track, that's what this channel does every week. Subscribe if you want the next one. And I'll ask you the same thing I always ask. Who else in this family deserves the same treatment? Because Mandy's not the only Cooper-adjacent name running on autopilot. And honestly, I've already got a good idea who's next.